Hello friends, Dr. J from Dr. J Does Stuff, and today we're going to talk about the 4 non-discretionary standards for the How to Pass Your DOT Medical Exam series. So if you watch some of the previous videos, we've mentioned 2 of them. We talked about hearing, we've talked about vision, and those are non-discretionary, which means I have no wiggle room. You can either pass or you can't based on what those standards are. And if you want to know what those standards are, please go watch those videos. Outside of these 4, which we'll talk about here in a sec, 2 of them, of course, hearing and vision, everything else is what they call best practices. It's left up to me to try to work with the driver, try to take an opportunity to educate, all those things. But when it comes to these 4, it is black and white. You either can pass or you can't. So again, hearing and vision, talked about them, go watch those videos. One of them is insulin. Now, people will say to me, so if I take insulin for diabetes, I can't pass, right? And I say, no. That used to be the case. It's not the case anymore. The good folks at the FMCSA's medical board decided, why are we punishing people who are on insulin? We don't punish people who take high blood pressure medication, as long as the driver can demonstrate that they're actively participating in their condition and taking the medication, and we take their blood pressure. And if somebody is taking insulin, it doesn't make them unsafe any more than it would be if somebody's supposed to take blood pressure medication or psych medication and they choose not to. If you take your insulin, you're not a danger as prescribed by your doctor. There's just something called an ITDM, an insulin treatment diabetes mellitus form, and I will put a link to it in the description. You have to have that filled out every time that you come in, and it's going to be annual if you are on insulin, because we've got to see in your urine test that your sugar is under control, which is proved by the fact that you're taking the insulin, and only the prescribing doctor has the ability to testify on your behalf. And when they fill out that ITDM form for you, they're putting their license on the line on your behalf, that they're your doctor, right? I'm not your doctor. I'm not diagnosing you. I'm not treating you. I'm just doing an evaluation per the rules, but your doctor knows you. And especially when you have a CDL and they're going to put their license on the line, they're going to tell the truth, because if you get into a crash, it could be them that goes to jail. It could be them that is financially bankrupt as a result of that accident, because they're responsible for you in that capacity when they sign it. And just like we talked about the medication form, that MCSA 5895 for Schedule 2 narcotics and psych meds and things, it has to be the doctor who prescribes the medicine, or the provider who uses their DEA license and prescribes the medication, the insulin, who signs the form. It can't be office staff. That ITDM form is 4 pages long, and it's got some questions in there asking about, is your condition stable? Do you come in every 90 days and get your insulin checked, or you want to monitor the reports to the office, kind of thing. But they're the ones that know you and trust you, and you trust them. But it's got to be a wet signature, and it can't be filled out by anybody but them. Can't be off staff. And I've seen it just like the other form, the medication form, where they put a stamp on it. Nope, can't accept that. And if you know this information ahead of time, you can take that ITDM form to the doc before your exam, and then bring it in. And that way you don't come in and get bad news and, hey, we can't pass you today without this form. Part of the series, again, is to just educate, make you able to know the rules, right? Knowledge is power. So if you know this ahead of time, you can save yourself a huge frustration. And the form is only good 45 days prior to the exam. So if it's longer than 45 days, then unfortunately can't be accepted. So a couple weeks before your exam, go see your doc who prescribes the insulin, have them fill it out. If they check the box that says you're good to go, then that part of the exam is good, and there's no frustration. And assuming you can pass all the other components of the exam, then you're going to pass, and then we'll see you in a year. The 4th non-discretionary standard has to do with epilepsy. And uh, the understanding there, of course, is having a seizure. We don't want anybody driving an 80,000-pound vehicle with 200 gallons of gas having a seizure and becoming incapacitated and getting themselves killed, maybe killing somebody else or multiple people in the process, right? That's just logical. But how is that defined? Well, according to the FMCSA, if you have an epilepsy diagnosis or if you've had two seizures, either provoked or unprovoked, we're going to talk about that in a second, in that case, then you cannot pass. And you have to there's an 8-year waiting period when it comes to epilepsy. So you're not going to drive for 8 years. Think about what you could do with yourself in education. You could totally find a brand new profession, but unfortunately you're not going to drive. And if you wait those 8 years, you can't come to me. You have to go to the federal government. You have to petition the federal government for an exemption, and they almost never give it. And within that, at the 8-year mark, you have to have been seizure free for 2 years at that point. It's a non-discretionary standard. Understandably, it's a serious one. They're all four of them are pretty serious when it comes to public safety. But let's talk about provoked and unprovoked seizures. So a long time ago, many years, I used to own daycares, and I can't tell you how many times kids have had a febrile seizure, and I've thrown them in my car, ran around the corner to the hospital while calling the parents and saying, get here, because I could get them there faster because it was a small town, but I get there faster than 911 could even get to showing up with an ambulance. But kids will have a fever and they'll spike it so fast and so hard the brain just goes out. And the cure for that is you get them packed in some ice or some cold towels or whatever, and they bring that temperature down, and their eyes flutter and they wake up and they're back. But people can have seizures from many things. You could get a whack in the head. You could get a medication reaction. But those are provoked. We understand what happened there. It's the unprovoked ones. So imagine if you had a seizure and you have no idea why. You go to the doctor and he said, well, what happened? Did you take medication? No. Did you get hit in the head? No. Did you this? Did you that? Did you that? Did it? No. I mean, I have no idea why this happened. Well, that's understandably a lot more dangerous, because moving forward, you could avoid the medication. You can hopefully avoid banging your head or with the temperature or whatever. But when it's unprovoked and there's no idea why this happened, that's dangerous, because if you're driving a commercial vehicle, you can kill somebody. So that's the difference between provoked and unprovoked seizures. And when it comes to the provoked ones, there actually isn't a rule anymore. They leave it up to me. I have to determine if I feel that there's less than 1% chance the driver could have an incapacitating event while behind the wheel. And, it does happen. People get a medication and it reacts badly. They have a seizure, and then they, of course, don't take the medication anymore. Who would? It frightens the hell out of you. It frightens your family. Nobody wants to be a danger. Nobody wants to hurt anybody. So that's usually, it'll scare you straight. But if I can determine that everything is fine, what I usually do, and again, they leave it up to me, I'll give you a 6-month card and have you come back. And if you're still seizure-free, from the provoked condition, you're avoiding whatever that was, maybe it's a food reaction or whatever, then, I'll probably make your card a 1-year card from that point forward, but you're still going to pass. So there's a difference between provoked and unprovoked. Provoked meaning something provoked that seizure. You know what it is. You don't do that thing again. And unprovoked is more dangerous because nobody knows. Maybe it's a wiring thing in the brain. It can happen at any time. I've seen it happen to kids. I've seen it happen to adults, 40, 50 years old, never had a seizure in their life. Now all of a sudden, off it goes. And you feel badly for people when that happens, because it's not their fault. They didn't choose anything or any behavior that caused it, but unfortunately it's going to be pretty restrictive to having a commercial driver's license. So those are the four: hearing, vision, insulin, and epilepsy and seizures. Well, thank you all for supporting the channel, and we appreciate it. We want to just keep giving you information. Knowledge is power. And please subscribe and hit the button, and ring the bell for the future notifications, comment, share, all the things to help support the channel so we can just continue to keep telling the truth, keep bringing the information forward, and keep the public safe. Thank you so much.